them. They were illegal at any other time of the year. Festive misrule, chaotic and funny, best fun of the year, gathering money, more than at Yule or any other time. Please come in. So much fun until it became a crime. We gathered more from the church this springtide, hauled men through the streets with their arms well tied. Better the women to tie up the men, like a conquered band of Vikings to them. Parade them through town, collect a penny, without some fun there wouldn't be any. Men captured and tied, the women to keep, give us a penny, we let thee off cheap. Women captured and tied, the men to keep. No, sorry. Men captured and tied, the women to kiss. And then no one thought the least wrong in this. Women captured and tied, the men to keep. Give us a penny, we let thee off cheap. Tutty wenches sold oranges and sweets, and those buxom lasses took to the streets. Tutty men carried tutty mace pole with orange scrambler, all out of control. Wooden staffs topped with orange and flowers, young lads in the street showing their powers. We had so much fun, those brave days of yore, but these days we be not so mature. Having fun in the street, being disquiet, we be arrested, causing a riot. Okay, now we get down to some real stuff. I'd like to bounce something off you. It's not been read to a group before. I've tried it out with a couple of friends, and this is very strange. This is maybe my weirdest poem ever. As some of you which are interested in trees may know, the ash tree is undergoing a bit of a disaster in Britain. There's a fungal, it's been attacked by a fungus called Cholera dieback, and we're in danger of losing all of our ashes the way we lost our arrows. So this poem is in part about the ash tree, but what I've done is taken an obscure character from Anglo-Saxon times, the Hagtessa, who were a fearsome bunch of supernatural females which rode out over the landscape causing havoc and mayhem. Now you wanted them on your side, so when you went into battle, you might summon the Hagtessa to scare the shit out of your enemy. These were very worrying, fearsome females. There are two recordings of them actually being seen in historic documents which survive. But apart from that, they're pretty much myth. We get from Hagtessa, we get the word hag, which in Anglo-Saxon times could also be used as a scan for witch. And actually the word Hagtessa in Anglo-Saxon documents can be used as a scan for Valkyrie. So the Valkyries and the Hagtessa are pretty much one and the same. So I'm invoking Hagtessa to help us fight Cholera dieback. That's why it's weird. So, the poem's called Return Ye Hagtessa.
Welcome to me, Andrew.
You may enter. Hello. Please take a seat.
We'll catch up in a minute.
Okay.
Welcome in, Andrew.
Yes, please come in. So, the poem is Return Ye Hagtessa, and just a quickie for those coming in. It's about a group of supernatural women which existed in Anglo-Saxon times. There are two writings which record sightings of them. Hagtessa is a scan for Valkyrie, and from the word Hagtessa we get the word hag, which was a scan for witch in Anglo-Saxon times. And I invoke these creatures to come back and fight us, to save our trees, ash trees, which are being attacked by Cholera dieback, a terrible fungus. So new poem. Return ye Hagtessa. Ye powerful hags of the Saxon hills, rid our ashes of their terrible ills. I doth here invoke and call upon thee, ye hags rough ride out, return and help me. O thou cavalcade of women riding, awful shield maidens, the battle deciding, defend our ashes from fungal attack, help us overthrow Cholera dieback. The Michigan Rift, return to us now, dreadful Valkyrie, protect sacred bough, with ragged garments and line-linden shield, like devils ride out on tree battlefield. O ye hag Tessa with helmets on head, fill our enemies with line battle dread. Ride ye roughly through fair forests again, through heathen sky come, cast out the profane. May din of line spears force fungus to flee, Thanor's magic spear from ash, the world tree. Females from beyond, return to help me, may all sacred ashes be fungal free. That's the kind of spirit I like. So, I want feedback. Did you enjoy it?
Yes. No, get off.
Was it too weird, or could you relate to it? Okay, it was okay.
You mean screaming witch warriors?
Okay, a bit of fun now. Bit of fun. I can find it. Right. In Elizabethan times, of course, we had another festival which got banned along with the others, May Day. We used to have May Day, and it wasn't when you paraded your missiles through the streets, or all the TUC people came out and talked about how miserable they were, and how miserable the world was. May Day was this wonderful festival. It was not formation dancing with ribbons around maypoles. The Victorians imported that from Italy. We did have maypoles, and the maypoles were used as a focal point in the village, on the village green, where people would romp and play and have enormous brawdy fun which went on all day throughout the day. Now, villages competed to see who could have the best maypole, the biggest maypole. Maypoles would usually last a number of years. It wasn't unusual to find that your village maypole would be nicked by a neighbouring village. This was a par for the course. And if you were a landowner and you had a tall tree on your land, you might wake up on May Day morning to find it missing. So, this is the story based on Professor Ronald Hutton's writings about the May Day festivities. So all of this again is factual. We're back in Elizabethan times, and we're looking at a village that needs a new maypole, and it starts from the day before, the evening before May Day, Walpurgis night, and it just goes through. And I've taken some of the critics of May Day and used their words against them. So, here we go. Elizabethan May. Young men, women and other married folk, you are gadding to woods and on groves of oak to spend the warm night in pleasant pastimes. Nature gives blessing to those in their prime. 40 oxen to carry the maypole, 300 people devotedly stroll. Sweet nosegays of flowers on oxen horn, with branches and birch, return in the morn. Back to the village they doth slowly trek, May Day assemblies ready to deck, hauling branches for arbours and bowers, the maypole covered with herbs and flowers. From top to bottom maypole bound with string, painted with bright colours, for the May King. Pulling on long ropes they haul it up straight, the amorous play and dancing must wait. Arbours and bowers to be built hard by, raunchy summer holes beneath the blue sky, bawdy fun in arbour, if it doth rain, only bishop and priest might lay abstain. The lusty men and their lord of misrule, hobby horses, dragons, giants and fool, handkerchiefs borrowed from their mopsies dear, for busying them in the dark with cheer. Summer lord and queen crown their love with flowers and revel with them in summer bowers. The pipe and tabor made such merry glee as at a maypole you would wish to see. Pipers and drums strike up devil's dance, skirmishing among the throng they advance, into the church like incarnate devils, jingling bells like madmen in revels. Handkerchiefs and flags on the maypole top, the brawdy and lewd behaviour non-stop. The ground strewn about with herbs and flowers, there's many a couple in the small hours. falling to dance around in the warm sun. In times to come, prudish priests stopped or thumb. Handkerchiefs swinging above heads like mad men. Save us from rude hobby horses. Amen.
One more.
Okay, one more. Okay, let's go back to Anglo-Saxon times again. This one again, a little bit unusual. It took me a while to get the plot behind this poem. I'm vegetarian. If I'd not been vegetarian, it would have been really easy. I don't like killing animals even in poems. So I wanted to have a ritual in a forest. I was determined it would be in a forest. And having looked at which god the ritual might be to, I was determined it would be Woden. And it was difficult to find a kind of ritual in the forest of Woden which didn't involve something unpleasant happening. So, or a huge gathering of people, and I didn't want it to be a huge gathering of people. I wanted it to be just one person going into a forest. So I decided, if a peasant goes into a forest to the sacred grove, to the sacred altar, to ask a favour of his or her god, then this could be a kind of everyday favour. I mean, lots of people, occasions when they want something, they pray to their god. But you don't necessarily take a silver mug and throw it into a stream. You have a small sacrifice, not a major sacrifice, and you just make a prayer. So this is one person going into the woods in Anglo-Saxon times, and I've researched it as thoroughly as I can. There is one passage in Anglo-Saxon, don't worry about it, I'll explain it later. So it's called Wadnesdag, which means Wednesday, Woden's Day. Knee-length brown tunic in warp and weft weaves, embroidered red hems to neck and long sleeves, patterned belt buckle and pointed strap end, pouches and short knife, ready to attend. No temple doth stand within sacred glade, no priest of Woden without sword and blade. Deep in dark forest, rising of full moon, holy heart clearing, rite of ritual rune. Blocked without a beast, in woodland twilight, loaf of best baked bread, awaiting moonlight. Half horn of mild mead, torn old ochre cloak, an oath to exchange 1,000-year oak. Liminal moment, charged with special power, offering laid down, base of the bower, consecrated grove, spirit witness tree, healer of 9 herbs, I doth invoke thee, Gauda Kraft. Woden, Woden, whereof du? The on Hefanum, sie die Name gehaugen, wat wie needs der as today, gewürfet in Villa. Listening for Fretty in torn cloak with hood, Midgard doth fade in winter's wild wood. Leader of wild hunt, Woden magic lord, thine will be done, and to thine accord. Howling wolves hard by, about on the tour, cracking of branches beneath Jerry's paw, ravens rustle crees, cry of Hugin, forest falls silent, awaiting mooning. Raising horn, race hail, Drichten I beseech, making Woden pledge, as the witches teach. Asir in Asgard, I give thee my word, squirrel climbs tree, my favour is heard.
There is something unsettling about actually hearing Anglo-Saxon. Brings in almost atavistic surges.
The bits you didn't understand were taken from the Lord's Prayer, just adapted slightly.
We will be having a break. As you know, we're asking £5 entrance. It entitles you to a free brunch. There is such a thing as a free brunch. We have been here, we were here for 3 years as Gruntless Arts Group. That recently came to an end because we transmuted an alchemist stole us away and transmuted us into the European all thing. What we're trying to do is base our work around festivals now. Yes, it's me being an old reactionary again. I believe in the great virtuosity and creativity of our ancestors. Hollywood does not. I also believe those virtues, those powers, are being sacrificed to the West End. Shrek. If we abandon that, we abandon the future and our children and our grandchildren, and the world will become a mediocre nightmare with Ronald McDonald as the new Christ. I oppose it with every single drop of my blood. Nice to see some of the luminaries here this afternoon. I'd like to share one of my own poems before we move on to the first celebrity guest star, and Tom will know who I mean. This was from my first book. It came out originally in 04. It was entitled Caliban's Redemption. There's always been a Shakespearean theme running through these meetings. I'm never entirely certain why. I've got to think about that. Still available for $8.99 in any major good bookstore. It was experimental, like this event this afternoon. It's experimental. We're trying to push boundaries. We're trying to see what we can do and what we can't do, to stop the surging tides of the mediocre. My alter ego, as some of you know, was Caliban from The Tempest. And at one point, I tried to capture his thoughts moment by moment. What was he thinking? This incredibly deceived individual. I mean, if you actually look at the subtext of the play, Prospero tricks him all the way through. He's the real owner of the magical island. The best poetry in the entire play is in his mouth. Something's going on. Before the play begins, he actually attempted to rape Miranda. Rushed over. Very interesting. Miranda, I love you, Holy Virgin, with the soul that you have moulded, lovely as a rosebud, to the silver moon unfolded. I love you, Holy Virgin. I love you, Queen of Heaven, with the body you have fashioned, twisted in your service, by sacred sighs of divine passion. I love you, Queen of Heaven. I love you, aged mother, with the mind that you have hardened, deep as dark obsidian, reflecting black thoughts yet unpardoned. I love you, aged mother. I love you, I praise you, I abase myself before you, and with golden songs adore you, my holy whore of heaven. Paganism, paganism, paganism. This group started as a group of visionary pagan writers. We are not exclusive. Some of my best friends are Christians. Nevertheless, we have a history. Tom is the man I'm inviting to come and speak to us next. He's a new friend of mine. He's a journalist. Be careful, you'll be in the Wall Street whatever very, very quickly. He's a very gifted man. He made the movie that's apparently going viral at the minute. How did that happen? About the thing we held last October, I believe, October. He's a very, very gifted man in all sorts of ways. He shares a passion for our Anglo-Saxon past. Not that that's a prerequisite, right? But he's here for this experimental event. Please welcome my dear friend Tom.
Similar to Andrew, I'll be reading some Anglo-Saxon, and I'll do two poems, one of which is an Anglo-Saxon poem, a Christian Anglo-Saxon poem, which was influenced by the preceding pagan culture and uses that culture to express its Christian faith. And the second poem is one written by me, which is a pagan poem influenced by Christian hymns and religious forms, so a kind of mirror of the previous one. I'm afraid I will disrupt the rhythm of this poem because each line I will follow with the translation. So you'll get a feel for the language, but then you'll understand what it means, but at the expense of the original rhythm. And both of these, as David said, they didn't favour rhymings in Anglo-Saxon poetry, preferring alliteration. So that's something I'll try to reflect in my own as well. This is basically another poem about trees, and it's about the tree that Christ's cross was made from, and venerating that tree before it was turned into the cross for the crucifixion. What? It's Schwefna Kust Sejan Wille. So I dreamed the best desire told. What me yamata to midranite. I dreamed it at midnight. Sisan Reod Berend Resta Wunadon, after the last speaker had rested. Thought to me that it's just sour slipper trail on liftladen Leotta Bewunden. I thought that I saw the most wonderful tree on air lead, wrapped in light. Bayama beortost. Ale that beacon was begotten with golda, yimmestoden, the brightest tree. All that beacon was infused with gold, studded with gems. Fair at folden shiatum, swilka dar fifawaron uppa on dam exelspannen. Behelden dar engel drittnes erde. Fair at earth's surface, such that there were 5 up on the axle span. All the Lord's angels beheld it there. Fair through forth yesheft, fair throughout creation. Ne'er was daar hura frakadas jalga. Indeed, this was no criminal gallows. At hinna daar behelden halligasses, men of Vermolden, und eildis mare yesheft. But he there beheld the Holy Ghost, men over earth, and all this glorious creation. Silik was the sea abeam, and each sunnum far verwunded mit one. Wondrous was the victory tree, and I, guilty sinner, stained by deep wounds was. Yesa its wilderness trail, I saw the glory tree, Wadam yeo wathorda, clothed in worship, Windham sheenum, shining with joy. Yekerid with golda, Yimmis hafton, barigde weird lichen, dressed in gold, gems had covered worthily, wailed endeth trail, the Lord's tree. Wathra, it's their fat gold, on yet and meata. However, I through that gold began to perceive Eamra arguem, that hit Ariston, the wretched one strife it was when it first began, swatting on the swithering haft, sweating blood on the right hand side. Ial it was mid sorghum yedreft. I was utterly afflicted by sorrow. Thought it was for thou fair and yesterday. Fearful I was of that fair sight. Yesaya it's that Husabeaken, saw I that brave beacon, Wendem Warden and Gleon, Quillem Hitmos mid Watan bestem. Changing clothes and colours, sometimes soaked in moisture, the swillet mid Swatter's Yana, drenched with flowing blood. Willem mid Sinka Yagirid, sometimes with treasure adorned. Whether it's that legender long a while. However, I lay there a long while, beheld Freya Keri, Halenda's trail, to behold with sorrow our Saviour's tree. Of that it's Yehirde that hit Leofrode, until I heard that it began to speak. Ongen the word spreken Wudu Celeste, the noble tree spoke these words. That was Yara ear. It's that Yitayaman. That was years ago, but I remember it still. That it was a hue and hulters on ende, that I was cut down at the edge of the wood. A steer de Stefnaminum, je namen me daar strang of viondes. Je worten him daar to Waffersin. That I was cut down at the edge of the woods, torn from my roots. Strange enemies took me there. Je worten him daar to Waffersin. They worked me into a spectacle. Heton me heora werges heaven. These criminals were commanded to lift me. Arn me daar, beonas on Eexla. Off that he may on berge set me. They carried me on their shoulders and set me on a hill. Je fasted on me daar, feondas janoch. Je say it's that freien man kunnis, efstan elna mikla, that hay may wolder on yesteryear. Many of those fiends fastened me. I saw the Lord of mankind summon great strength that he could climb upon me. Part of that poem is carved in runes on a cross in Scotland. I was up there last weekend for filming my new documentary film, which will hopefully be released at the end of this year, about the influence of the Anglo-Saxon culture on the modern landscape and culture that we live in today.
I think we could have first choice in launching that.
Yes, certainly. I'd love to do
that would be
a screening.
Yeah.
Excellent. Talk about that. So here's my own poem, much shorter, you'll be glad to hear. And it does, I'm sure the Anglo-Saxons would be dismayed to have a slight rhyming scheme, but I've tried to use more alliteration as well. The age of poets has passed. Lie we now wretchedly on this rock. The seething sea sighs at the shameful legacy of life she hath begot. Ash tree trembles at sacred breath of life first given. Elm too resembles the ash when soul was breathed within. When earthly life did man and woman learn. From wood came we, to our roots we must return. Ash to ash, oak to oak. From this day forth we live to serve our folk. The gods of old our will have now awoke. Blood to blood, bone to bone. In years gone by our will to power was known. In years to come, again it shall be shown.
I think for those of you who are having your first time here, we've always sort of tried to explore a philosophy of perennis. I mean, we don't think there's one faith, we think it's all a continuation. I think we need some female energy at this point. Don't start looking away, Tina. You know where I'm coming with this. Come in, dear friend. Come in, dear friend. Tina Warren has been working with this group for, oh my God, 1,000 years, if I'm not a Dutchman. Let me introduce her again for those of you who are new to this. She, in my view, and I want to write the review soon, has a voice like Sappho. Unique, feminine. She's trying to describe the world from a genuinely female angle. Sometimes I think we have trouble with its simplicity. All the most complex things can be said in a simple way. And Tina's one of those gifted people that can say them. Her poetry is evocative. It's powerful. It's like having a weapon made out of mashed potato. You know, a huge sack of mashed potato. Ha! That didn't hurt. Oh my God! It's only afterwards when you think about it. We are privileged every time she joins us, and she comes all the way down from Aberystwyth of all things. Tina, would you take the floor, please welcome my dear friend and poetess, Tina Warren.
Right, I tried to find a selection that I haven't read here before, because I've exhausted my supply, really, so I'm glad there's a few new ears. I think I'll start with this poem that's about a syndrome that affects all my siblings in one way or another, but not me. And I'm only reading it today because no one here knows my family. So I think it's quite a fascinating subject, and I don't think I've quite captured exactly what it's getting at, but broadly speaking, it's about an intersex condition. It's called status check. This is not a blemish that will ever disappear. I don't know what to say. I do know I resent her telling me what to wear because she knows what men like. But then I'm not dealing with high testosterone levels from both body parts or anxieties over likely tunes. The geneticist told me it was like trying to track down a spelling mistake on a single garment label in a branch of Marks and Spencer's. A test sample to compare made it easier. But what's normal? I would have no issues with dressing my daughters in pink, buying them dolls, personal decisions over gender, whether to speak or be silent, to avoid the ignorant. I am the mother that she can never be, so I have a whole set of problems that differ from those of my beautiful ex-wife sister. And if it didn't make sense, you can ask me about it later. Right. As is normal, I will read a couple more of my mother's poems. My mother comes from China. Dragon. She had never seen a comic, a television or a cartoon. So what was this suddenly roaring in the sky? Its snout was long like an alligator, its dark body making shadows on the trembling fields. There were some flashes of red, the petrification. She did not see the whites of his eyes. My daughter tells me that I barely pause for breath between my poems, so perhaps I should mention that most of them are fairly short. So next we have Sparrow, which is a translation of the word mahjong. The room was hired, Mai Ling having taken her cut. Serious business to be done. The woman sits at the square table, child on her back. East does the dealing. She wins from the wall, a steal from the discard. The men say she cheats. Her brain is sharp. Cognitive memory won't need training. She's high. They mutter and accuse, but the winds and dragons, flowers and seasons still appear, and the devil on her shoulder keeps calling her on. This is another Chinese one, and apparently this emperor was a poet as well, but not as well known as Li Bai. And this is called Emperors in Disguise. In an 18th century tea house, 15 respectful fingers tapped the table as Kun Wen poured the tea. His military campaign's already legendary during his 60-year reign. Filial duty writes his abdication before his grandfather is disrespected. His 28 children in the palace were not aware of the outings of the lasting elements, Chiang Wen, seeing only commoners by the gates. In modern-day tea houses, countless hands tap 3 fingers in the symbolic kowtow. Jam on the butter knife. It's all too much. An infant with an iPod, the man with the chips while I'm trapped in this compartment on a seat with no ticket. Metallic sounds of drumming, spanking my nerves. Vinegar vapour waters my eyes. Odour of stale sweat drifts with every movement of his arm. You stop. Now a mother, 3 toddlers in a pram. Shut the window, the kids will get cold. Shut the window, the window won't shut. Baby starts crying, nappy tape changing time. People try to escape, but there is no room on a 2-carriage train Aberystwyth line. Too many questions when I arrive home again. Like, why am I late when it's the fault of the train? So just understand when you've had a day free from strife. I might just be stressed by the state of that life. Last orders. In the week that a badger played chicken with my soul, an image stared out at me from a box. It had been so long since that smile had touched me, making me a mother and a child. This was not how it should be, separated by so much more than glass, trying to remember petting goats at the zoo, 5-star hotels on business, indiscretions with dancing girls, real ale in a straight glass, exactly 5 chips on a plate, with an Elvis record playing in the background. Now all the good that is left is found in 3 children, a cardboard box and a carrier bag, and I cannot cry the loss. I wrote that one before taking my children to their father's funeral last month. This one was written after visiting my eldest daughter, who lives and works in Mallorca. Beer and flip-flops. Legs dangle from the boardwalk where the fish come for bread, and I look across to the other side. The cathedral, the harbour, the concrete buildings of an island invaded. And I remember a sunbed on a balcony of an apartment over a greasy cafe, nodding to the neighbours, half-cut tomatoes drying in the sun, the sound of the refrigeration unit and the clattering of bottles late into the night, daytime excursions and exchanges, lager and lilos, the occasional stag with shorts on his head, foreign language television, The Simpsons, as inevitable as remembering too late not to drink the water. A plane flies overhead, advertising banner heralding the opening of yet another nightclub, and I walk across the beach past the illegal traders with bottles and melons, the bars with chalkboards offering giant screen TVs to watch football on Coronation Street, and I search the